Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're supposed to start at 9, so we're slightly late on that one. We're going to try and catch up. Can I ask the other people supposed to give the updates to actually come up here? No, I'm going to move so that you have the numbers. Okay. Now that we're just missing one of the persons, I guess give us an update, but I suppose he'll join us afterwards anyway. So the plan for today is we're going to have the global updates on the NROs, obviously. And we have Anne Michelle who's going to be moderating this meeting, basically. So the plan for today is we're going to have the global updates, and that's going to come from Adil, CEO of Afrinic, obviously. And then after that, we're going to have the ASO updates from Alan Barrett. Going on for that, we're going to have APNIC updates. Aaron is going to come in there, and RIPE. And last but not least will be Ayana. So just quickly, I'm going to give you a little profile of these various people, apart from Adil, who we know is our CEO. Just looking at that. So quickly, Alan Barrett has helped set up the first internet connection to South Africa. Yeah, Adil will be first. So I'm just giving a quick introduction to the people, basically. So yeah, Adil will be first, giving you the NRO updates, and then Alan Barrett will kick in. So Alan has helped set up the first internet connection in South Africa. He was the co-founder and obviously one of the people who actually been proposal to creating Afrinic and served on the Afrinic board for several years. He is now the appointed Afrinic Board of Directors member to the NRO Council and also one of its vice chairs. After that, we're going to have Frank, who is from APNIC. Where is he? Oh, you can. I'm missing somebody here. Okay, Frank has actually been is actually project and system service manager. Frank is responsible for managing complex projects within APNIC Secretariat and actually serves in the business area. And after that, we're going to have Bill Woodcock, and he has been on the Board of Trustees of ARIN, the American Registry for Internet Numbers, since 2002, and is the Executive Director of Packet Clearing House, which is a non-profit making research institute dedicated to looking at internet traffic, technology, policy, and economics, obviously. Going further, we will have Ingrid. She is the Assistant Manager at Registration Services with RIPE, and obviously oversees the IP allocation assignment for Europe, Middle East, and part of the Central Asia as well. And then we will have Elise. I understand she will be with us by remote. She's not physically here. So Elise is actually with Ayana. So she's the Vice President, Ayana, for ICANN, and has been there for 25 years. And she's got a long career of, the list is quite long, so I'm going to say she's the Vice President for Ayana, for ICANN. With that, I think I'm going to pass on to Anne Michelle to take on. Anne?
Thanks very much, Chris. Good morning, everybody. So I think everybody's here. As Chris said, we have Elise. Elise has sent us a video. She'll be going last. So you have a video talking about the update on IANA. But Elise is also on WebEx with us and will participate to the Q&As. So without further ado, I'm going to let Adil go first for the NRO updates.
Thank you very much. So, NRO update. The mission of the NRO, which has been redefined last year, is to be the flagship and global leader for collaborative Internet number resource management as a central element of an open, stable, and secure Internet. What is the NRO? The NRO is in fact the gathering of all the 5 areas for working together and especially delivering on common projects and providing a unique and single entry point to the system for the external world. Oh, no. Okay, the NRO was created in 2003 through an MOU signed between the 4 existing areas at the time. When Afrinic joined 1 year later, Afrinic joined the same MOU by signing a different agreement to join the NRO. It is a lightweight organization, not incorporated, to give us some flexibility in the way we're running, although we are discussing right now on the incorporation, possible incorporation, and what would that mean for us. As I read it before, the mission is to work together, but concretely what does it mean? It means that we want to promote a coordinated Internet number registry system. That is our core activity, managing number registry system. Promote multi-stakeholder model, but not just multi-stakeholder, but also a bottom-up policy development process in Internet governance. The coordination and support for joint activities, as I mentioned before, we have several coordination groups that work on those activities. We act as well as focal point for input to the area system globally. And finally, we have an MOU with ICANN so that the NRO fulfill the role of the ASO within the ICANN framework. Next, please. Key focus area, support area coordination. I said it already, global cooperation and coordination, branding and repositioning the NRO in its mission. I think this is something that we start working on to reposition the NRO so that we show our coordination and cooperation among the five areas. How does the NRO work? We have the executive committee, which is made of the 5 CEO of the area. This year I have the privilege to chair the NRO. We share those functions in a rotative manner. So this year I'm the chair, Axel Paulik from RIPE NCC is the secretary, and Raul Echeverria is the treasurer. Paul Wilson and John are members of the EC, but next year this will move around where Axel will become the chair, Raul the secretary, Paul will become the treasurer, and I will be a member. The secretariat of the NRO is hosted by RIPE NCC this year because Axel is the secretary. We have also recruited a full-time executive secretary last year in the name of Herman Valdez. His role is mainly to ensure that our coordination and cooperation work effectively. He is the coordinator of all our cooperation or coordination groups. We have 5 of them. We have the CCG, which is the Communication Coordination Group, the PACG, which is the Public Affairs Coordination Group, the Engineering Coordination Group, Registration Service Coordination Group, and IPv6 Coordination Groups. Those groups work together and have representatives from each area in there, and they meet regularly and work on common activities. As I mentioned, there is an MOU between the NRO and ICANN for the NRO to fulfill the role of the ASO within ICANN's own constitution. And the NRO is then recognized under the ICANN bylaw to oversee global number resource policy development process, to appoint 2 directors to the ICANN board, also appoint representatives to serve in various ICANN bodies or committee working group. The role of the ASO is also to advise ICANN board on number resource matters. So when there is an issue or any thing that ICANN board feel they need advice on, they address their request to the ASO, to the NRO, which then consults either with the community or the NRO EC and provide guidance to the ICANN board. The ASO Address Council, which is also the NRO number council, not name council, number council, has 15 individuals elected from the 5 regions, 3 per region. And for our region, the people representing us in the NRO NC are Fiona Asonga. I don't know if she's in the room, Fiona. No, but she's around. We have Alan Barrett, who is also the vice chair of the NRO NC or ASO AC, and Douglas Oyengo. Douglas, I don't know if he's here. He was not feeling very well yesterday. So the 3 of them are here. You may want to chat with them a little bit to understand what they do at the AC level. And all the other area also appoint their representative. The NRO also have some expenses because we have a lot of joint activity together. We contribute to ICANN budget. So what's mainly are made of our expenses? Staff costs. As I say, we have a full-time staff now. Travel to support some ASO, AC, and the executive secretariat travel. Communication and outreach, representation, we share those costs. And we contribute every year $823,000 to ICANN budget. Our budget for 2014 is a little bit more than $400,000, and we share that budget among the 5 of us based on a specific formula, which take into consideration our registration service revenue as proportionate formula. We are very active supporting the Internet Governance Forum, the IGF. We have 2 representatives from the NRO on the MAG, Paul Wisdom from EPINIC and Paul Rendek from RIPE NCC. We have actively participated in the 8th IGF in Bali, where we contributed 100,000 to the overall IGF budget. We have run 2 workshops as NRO workshop. One is on IPv4 market and legacy space, and the second is the importance of regional coordination in internet governance. We have pledged this year again to financially support the IGF through a donation of $100,000 again. So it is the IGF for us, it is something that is critical in today's discussion and evolution of the internet ecosystem, and we are committed to continue providing this kind of support to the IGF. As NRO, we also interact with many other organizations. As I mentioned, the NRO was set up as well to provide a single entry point from outside world to the RAR system. So time by time we have as NRO to respond and send correspondence to other organizations, either because there is a consultation or we have seen something that we need to react on. We have response to the IANA function transition consultation. When this was opened by ICANN, our comments support the AAB comments and exclude the IANA PDP. We have also sent a letter to ICANN on the ASO NRO participation in the ICANN meeting. What we reinstate is the importance for the NRO and the ASO to have report during ICANN meeting. We have noticed that over the year, the participation or the involvement of the NRO in the public report has been diminishing. And we remind ICANN that the ASO is the NRO and it's recognized in its own bylaw. We have also reminded ICANN the ICP2 document sometime last year, which defined the criteria for establishing new RAR, because at some point of time, ICANN has tried to take the lead in promoting or trying to help new idea, but we send the correspondence to ICANN to affirm that the ICP2 is the only document that right now provide a framework for the creation of new RAR. We have participated to the World Telecommunication Policy Forum last year, and we have contributed to the discussion by submitting a formal contribution. Especially this was around IPv6 deployment. Other activities, we had NRO retreats this year, already the first one. We have two. It was in Dubai in March 2014. We are working collaboratively on the RPKI project, the future planning, and also the cooperation with ICANN on the test bed. Certainly, the IANA update will touch on this briefly. We are also actively discussing with ICANN regarding the IANA oversight transition process, and as I mentioned, ASO presence during ICANN meeting and the future of service provided by ICANN to us under the IANA service framework. These are other global engagement. I think I'm over my time now, but briefly, these are other engagement that the NRO have jointly. We have actively contributed to the Net Mondial, both in terms of content, substance, but also in terms of support to the logistic. We have engaged on OneNet at some point in the steering committee and the coordination. We had last year, through our retreat and the ISTAR collaboration initiative, issue few statements that we feel as ISTAR. The ISTAR are the technical coordination organization worldwide. So it regroups the RAR, the regional CCTLD organization, ITF, AB, W3C, ISOC, ICA, and ICANN. And we meet regularly to discuss issues related to internet governance, technical issue, and we have issued few statements after our past meeting. That's it for the NRO EC report. We'll be happy to take any question or comment. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Adil. I think we're going to do the questions at the end, if you don't mind. That would also, give people a little bit of a sense of the global and then the regional. I want to just give a small update. Elise IANA presentation is online. If you want to download it so that when the video comes, you can actually follow what she's doing. So you can. It's on the website at AIS Global Updates, and you can go download it if you wish. My next presenter here is Alan. Alan, thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Anne-Rochelle. Good morning, everybody. I'm Alan Barrett. I'm here to speak about the NRO-NC, also known as the ASO-AC. Okay, so as you've heard from Adil, the NRO is the Number Resource Organization. It's a very lightweight body which does coordination between the RIRs. The Numbers Council, or the NRO-NC, is sort of part of that. So the NRO has two main parts. There's the Executive Council, which is the CEOs of the 5 RIRs, and there's the Number Council, which is members who are appointed or elected by the RIRs. So there's a web page, nro.net/about/Number Council. On the other side, there's the ASO. So first there was the NRO, now there's the ASO, which is an ICANN body, the ICANN Address Supporting Organization. And it also has an address council whose job is to advise ICANN on number resource policy issues. And there's its website under ICANN, aso.icann.org. Now, actually, these two organizations are really the same thing, but viewed from different sides. So viewed from the RIR side, we see it as the NRO Numbers Council. Viewed from the ICANN side, they see it as the ASO Address Council, but it's really the same people doing the same work. And there's a memorandum of understanding between ICANN and the NRO in terms of which these two organizations are basically the same. The NRO-NC fulfills the roles, responsibilities, and functions of the ASO-AC. Okay, there's a link to the MOU from 2004. So there are 15 members, 3 from each of the 5 RIRs. Within those 3 from each RIR, 2 are elected by the community, and 1 is appointed by the board or appointed by the executive or something. Different RIRs have different processes for that. But typically the members serve 3-year terms. So there's a list of members. You saw exactly the same list in Ideal's presentation a few minutes ago. And again, in the Afrinic region, the 3 are Fiona Songa, myself, Alan Barrett, and Douglas Onyango. I'm not going to read out the names in all the other regions. You can see the presentation on the website if you need it, or if you don't have enough time to read it on the screen now. You can also go to the website to find a list. So aso.icann.org, follow a few links, you'll find the same list there. Okay, so the tasks of the ASO-AC are to appoint 2 of ICANN's board of directors, to appoint people to serve on various ICANN bodies as needed from time to time, to process global policy proposals, and to advise the ICANN board on anything that they ask related to number resources. Global policy proposals have a detailed definition. Right now there aren't any on the table, but a global policy proposal it's almost what you might think. It's a policy proposal which applies worldwide, but there are a few other requirements: that it has to be approved in all the 5 regions, and that it has to involve some kind of action on behalf of the IANA. Okay, so we'll get to a little more detail in each of these tasks. Excuse me. So the ASO-AC appoints 2 of ICANN's board of directors, seat number 9 and seat number 10. Seat 9 is currently occupied by Ray Pulzak. He was appointed in 2009 for a 3-year term, another 3-year term in 2012, and that term now ends about a year from now in the middle of 2015. Seat number 10 on the ICANN board is occupied by Ku-Wei Wu. He was appointed in 2010. He was reappointed last year, and his appointment continues until the middle of 2016. So seat number 9 becomes vacant or needs to be replaced in the middle of next year. The process to do that will start towards the end of this year. So you can expect to see around the end of this year a call for nominations and a call for comments, that kind of thing, for reappointing ICANN board seat number 9. Okay. The ASO-AC also appoints members to serve on various ICANN bodies. The ICANN Nominations Committee is responsible for nominating several more ICANN board members. And at the moment, Hans-Peter Hullen is the ASOAC's appointee to the ICANN NOMCOM. Hans-Peter has been a member of the ASOAC for a long time, but he stepped down at the end of 2013. And as you possibly know, he's now taken on a new role within RIPE. But he's still appointed to the NOMCOM by the ASOAC. Another appointment that we've made is to the ICANN Accountability and Transparency Review Team number 2, and we've appointed Fiona Songa to that team. Okay, so their role is to examine a lot of ICANN's internal processes, whether they're sufficiently transparent and accountable and fair and all that stuff. Global policy proposals, as I mentioned a minute ago, they're proposals about policies that affect the worldwide use of IP addresses or AS numbers or other number resources. At the moment, there are no global policy proposals on the table. The last one that was approved was a couple of years ago. We have recently been asked for advice about global policy proposal for post-exhaustion handling of the IPv4 address space. In 2011, there was a proposal which was approved towards the beginning of 2012, dealing with how the IANA will handle IP address space after exhaustion. So you probably know that a few years ago, the last set of 5/8s were given out to the 5 RIRs. Now this proposal for post-exhaustion handling says, well, space can be returned to the IANA for various reasons, and this global policy says what the IANA has to do with that. And part of it says that every 6 months there's an allocation window where the IANA will give out some fraction of the space. The details are all spelled out in the policy. But we received a request for advice about the very first allocation. Does it have to be aligned to one of those 6 months boundaries like all the other allocations, or is it different? There was a brief consultation in all the policy forums in all 5 regions, and the result of that was that the ASOAC, I think possibly through the NRO, sent advice back to the IANA and formally addressed to the ICANN board as well, saying that we think that the first allocation may take place as soon as the policy is triggered, but subsequent allocations must be on those 6-month boundaries. This policy for post-exhaustion handling of IPv4 was actually triggered about a week or 2 ago. On the 20th of May, LACNIC's available pool of IP address space became less than a /9, and that triggers the first phase of the IANA post-exhaustion handling. There's a thing called the recovered IPv4 pool, and a day or 2 later, IANA made the first allocations, and there are some websites where you can read about it, www.nro.net/news. I'm sure if you just go to the news page, one of the top stories will be about LACNIC's pool running to below a /9 and about the IANA making the first allocations from that. So each of the 5 RIRs receives several small chunks of address space from the recovered pool in terms of this policy. Okay, that's all I have, except for thanks to the NRO for their funding of the Address Council's activities and for their support and guidance. The members of the NRO Address Council, the NRO Executive Council, are always ready to advise the AAC about procedural or policy issues. So a big thanks to the Secretariat, which is hosted by the RIPE NCC this year, and especially to German Valdez, who's now the full-time secretary for the NRO, and he also works for the Address Council. Okay. So finally, just some links in case you didn't get them before. From the ICANN side, we're the Address Support Organization, aso.icann.org. And from the NRO side, we're the Numbers Resource Organization. There's www.nro.net. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan. So you just heard about the NRO and the ASO. This is basically somewhat of the global constructs, and now we're going to hear about individuals or individual entities that form those organizations. We're going to start with APNIC. Frank? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Frank Salinitri. I will be presenting the APNIC update this morning. So there's three key words in my presentation this morning. It's serving, supporting, and collaborating. And that's how the presentation will be structured into three different sections. So I'll be talking about supporting APNIC members, serving APNIC members, supporting the development of the internet community in the Asia-Pacific region, and collaborating with the internet community. So this is the internet ecosystem as we see it. APNIC plays their part as one of the 5 RARs in the world. We see the internet users in the middle, followed by content providers, applications, so the providers around the users, and then finally the RIRs, so the number registration, name registries, regulatory bodies, everyone else around them. So APNIC, we see our part in the ecosystem, as I said, as serving, so serving our members in terms of the distribution of resources and registration services, the support in terms of capacity building in our region, training, workshops, conferences, supporting infrastructure development, and then of course the collaboration through research, data collection, publications, government outreach, all of those sorts of activities. So I'll start to go into more detail into each of the three sections now. So in terms of serving our members, I'll talk about the statistics for V6, V4, ASN, and our membership growth. So IPv6, there's been a linear growth since 2011. At the moment, we stand at about 43,000 /32s that have been delegated. Delegations from our last /8. On average, each month we have over 100 delegations, with 142 delegations as of the end of April 2014 this year. Market transfers. There's been a slow increase this year, and we had a peak of 19 transfers in March. ASN, there's a steady growth, so we've got approximately 7,400 2-byte ASNs that are delegated, and about 2,198 4-byte ASNs. Membership growth. As of the end of 2013, we had 4,247 members, and that accounted for about approximately a 4.6% increase in that year. Now moving on to supporting the internet development in the Asia Pacific region. So I'll just briefly cover policy development, supporting IPv6, training, our events, capacity building, and of course our innovation funds through ISIF and SEED. So first of all, the policy update. These are policies that have been implemented as of the last conference, with the final one, the Prop 105, that was actually implemented about a couple of weeks ago. But the first one, Prop 108, that was a minor change to the PDP process where the chairs could change the discussion period so that it could sort of speed up the process for them. Prop 107, AS number transfer policy. So we had a policy for IPv4, so we did the same with ASN numbers as it made sense. Prop 109, we allocated 1/24 and 1.1.1/24 to APNIC labs for research. And the final one, Prop 105, it's the distribution of returned IANA address space to our members. It means that our existing members and new members can apply for a maximum of a /22 from the IANA return address space pool, as well, of course, as their maximum of their /22 that they can also receive from the last /8. V6 support, of course, there's various activities that we're involved in. Outreach, of course, at various events around the Asia Pacific region, such as the IPv6 event by ISOC in Hong Kong, ICANN 49, etc. I won't read through that list. We've also been involved with the Asia Pacific IPv6 Task Force, and of course we've developed a white paper which helps decision makers in adapting IPv6 address space. Training, it's quite a big activity for APNIC. We had a total of 3,591 people trained in 2013. Hands-on face-to-face sessions around the region. There were 89 courses in 37 locations and about 2,622 participants. We continue doing e-learning, which is every Wednesday. We've produced about 179 hours worth of training through 135 courses, and there have been about 969 participants involved. Our events, of course, APNIC 36, that was last year in Xi'an, China. That coincided with APNIC's 20th anniversary as an RIR, a total of on-site delegates of 251 participants. Apricot earlier this year in Petaling Jaya, Malaysia. Of course, that was a last change of venue because of the issues they were having in Bangkok. We ended up with a total on-site delegation count of 466. Another activity that we've started undertaking last year and this year is to support more APNIC regional meetings. They're usually one-day free events. The first one was in conjunction with MINOG in Kuala Lumpur, followed by another one in the Philippines, in Manila, in conjunction with Internet 20 PH, and ARMS 3, which was just last month in May in conjunction with BDNOG. And recent activities in terms of infrastructure capacity building. As you can see there, we've been undertaking IXP workshops in Bangkok and working with the people there to establish the country's first IXP, supporting activities at BDNOG and BTNOG, providing training and equipment to help establish the Vanuatu IXP, and also helping to establish an iRoute server instance in Port Vila, Vanuatu. Last of all, in supporting, of course, there's the ISIF and SEED Alliance. So ISIF hands out small grants and awards. It's 1.3 million over 3 years from IDRC in Canada. The other important one is the SEED Alliance, which is a joint project with FRIDA, which is Latnic, and FIRE in Afrinic. It's $1.5 million over 3 years from CEDA, based in Sweden. Okay, so moving along to collaborating with the internet community, I'll be talking about the APNIC labs, strategic engagement, and internet cooperation. So our labs, APNIC labs, we are involved in measurement activities in terms of IPv6 readiness, by economy, ISP, tracking the growth of the routing table for V4 and V6. There's also been long-term investigation into dark traffic in both V4 and V6. And of course, there's also their usual internet number resource reporting and analytics on the website. There's the URLs there for anyone that's interested. Strategic engagement, of course, at the community, technical community level, there's all the regional NOGs, CERTs, ISOC, PACnet, etc. I won't go through all of them. I think Adil's probably mentioned some of them already. Governmental, of course, and then also the IGFs. As I said, I don't really need to list them. I think you can read them for yourself. Okay, so APNIC Survey 2014. It's going to be opening on the 11th of June until the 22nd of June. It's an opportunity for APNIC to get input into its performance, development and future direction. It contributes to APNIC's future planning, and it's run by an impartial, independent research organisation, and confidentiality of respondents is guaranteed. So for those who want to find out more information, the link is there, survey.apnic.net. So lastly, I'd like to invite you all to APNIC 38 in Brisbane, Australia, from the 9th to 19th of September 2014. Brisbane is the hometown for the APNIC office, so I'm sure there'll be a great opportunity for people to come and visit our office and meet a lot more of the staff than we can generally send to conferences. So, you know, there'll be a lot more exposure of staff to delegates. The other one is the Apricot 2015, which is in conjunction with APNIC 39, which will be in Fukuoka, Japan, 24th of February to 6th of March 2015. So again, you're all invited. Thank you very much, and it's been a great honour to come and present here at Afrinic's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank. Just one little thing before I let Bill go on. Frank told you about the Seed Alliance and the development project that APNIC is running. So in there, he said there was LACNIC, AFRINIC, and APNIC actually doing this. And tomorrow you're going to have an update on fire, so you can see a little bit the type of projects that are coming and some of the ways the regional internet registries are actually giving back to the community, basically, through those development projects. Bill is going to tell us now about our sister organization, ARIN.
Okay, I'm Bill Woodcock. I'm on the ARIN Board of Trustees. Our last year has focused very much on IPv4 transfers. As the IPv4 space has become depleted, a lot of the very large internet organizations based out of the North American region have been looking to the future and trying to make sure that they have sufficient IPv4 resources to carry them forward. That means that there's been a lot of sort of backroom deal making between holders of IPv4 space and a lot of contracts signed that involve future transfers and a lot of work in ARIN on the transfer policies that allow IPv4 space that's already been allocated to be moved from one organization to another organization. The actual remaining pool of IPv4 space in the ARIN region has passed below 1/8 at this point. We have a few little reserved pools for special use, new market entrants, internet exchange points, so forth, critical infrastructure. But those don't amount to very much space, and those will be detailed later in the slide set. The amount of scrutiny given to each new application has increased somewhat, and this is not just a matter of policy and implementation of policy. The amount of work involved in each new application has increased quite a bit due to other factors that I'll discuss. As a consequence of all this, of course, we're trying very hard to get people switching over to IPv6, and we've had some continuing success there. The customer satisfaction survey was a fairly big thing towards the end of last year. We got a lot of results. Many of them quite positive, and a few of them pointing out areas that need additional work. Most of those having to do with the turnaround time for new applications, which has been going up because of the additional scrutiny. We had quite a lot of investment over a few years in RPKI, which detracted from our ability to get other kinds of automation done. That focus has been shifted largely as a result of the customer satisfaction survey. So a lot more work this year is targeted at the website and the automation and making workflow simpler and smoother. The numbers here are a little deceiving. The 18% increase in the number of requests doesn't really reflect the amount of additional work, because what's really gone through the roof is the complexity of each request, the number of interactions back and forth between the IP analyst staff on ARIN's side and the requester. A lot more correspondence, a lot more requests for clarification and documentation and so forth, because a lot more fraud has been occurring. As we reach the end, there are a lot of people who become desperate and submit documents that are not wholly correct. And so that requires a lot of work on our staff's part to deal with. and that's been having an unfortunate and unavoidable impact on the turnaround time for legitimate requests as well. The issue about the out-of-region requests is a tricky one. Existing policy that there are policy proposals underway to change is that addresses allocated from ARIN need to be used within the ARIN region if they are to be used as justification for later address allocations or transfers. It doesn't say that if you receive an IP address from ARIN, you can't use it out of region. It says if you use it out of region, it can't contribute to a justification for additional addresses later. That policy is likely to change in the next, well, over the course of this year with the proposals that are currently underway to adjust that. We've got a bit more outreach. These ARIN on the road trainings are not unlike what Afrinic has done for a long time. ARIN is doing smaller meetings, workshops, trainings throughout the ARIN region in cities and towns that are a little bit smaller than would be able to host a full-size ARIN meeting. So instead of several hundred people, these are typically several dozen people, and they're pretty cost-effective and a really good way for us to reach the smaller organizations within ARIN's constituency that might not have the travel budget to send someone to a week-long meeting somewhere else or a 3-day meeting somewhere else. As I said, a lot of the new web development is being driven very directly by customer requests. People wanting specific features, specific improvements, they go into a queue. There's a bit of a voting process to see what gets prioritized, and then that's going to the web development group. This is the detail on the remaining IPv4 inventory. As I said, a little bit less than 1/8 of V4 address space available for fulfilling general requests. There are a number of /16s that are being temporarily held in quarantine because of issues with the space. They're things that have recently come back, typically, things that may have been used for spam or something like that, where we know that they're heavily blacklisted, and it would be unfair to a recipient to allocate them directly. We've got the V6 deployment block, which is a block that is specifically reserved for deployment for the outside of 4 to 6 NATs, the V4 side of 4 to 6 NATs, and another one reserved block for microallocations for critical infrastructure, which includes the root name servers, the internet exchange points, and there's been a sort of policy clarification over the course of the last year or so that the many thousands of new GTLDs that are being approved by ICANN now do not constitute critical infrastructure in the sense meant by this policy. So those 231/24s are not going to get sucked up for any casting the thousands of new GTLDs that are being approved. This is the good news. You can see here, this is a quarter by quarter since 2010, or actually half year by half year. We've gone from only 20% of the ISPs or the member organizations in the ARIN region having both V4 and V6 to now 41% currently, or as of the third quarter of last year. And that means that we're nearly halfway there in terms of getting people out of the V4 only ghetto. Oop, there. As I said, a lot of work has gone into transfers, both actual transfers that are happening and preparatory work for transfers that are going to happen once the run out is complete. So far, we've done 71 transfers that are completed, including both address space and autonomous system numbers. And these are under two different policies. The transfers to specified recipients is a policy for intra-RIR transfers, so transfers within the ARIN region, whereas the inter-RIR transfer is a different policy for transfers between regions. Thus far, no one has transferred any space into the ARIN region, but we've had 24 transfers completed from ARIN to the APNIC region. So APNIC is, the Asia Pacific region is sort of taking the lead in sucking address space out of the North American region. And we expect these trends to continue or accelerate over time. Whoop, sorry. This is the usage of the RPKI. You can see the numbers are picking up, but are very, very small relative to our membership. There's not been a massive uptake of this, which is in part why the investment ed is being ramped down. Oh, sorry, I keep double pressing. The policy proposals currently out there, these are the active ones. The three in bold are ones that have recently been approved, and we've got a couple of new ones since the last meeting this spring in Chicago. The web hosting policy removal, one of the good things that you can see here, the good trends, is that we're starting to have more policy proposals that clean up existing policy, that remove text, that remove loopholes and exceptions, that make things more harmonized and uniform. So we have a bunch of these things that are cleaning up the existing policy that I think will help simplify the jobs of the analysts as we run out of space at the end. Fewer loopholes is good if you're dealing with an already complex situation. We have a meeting that's going on right now this week in Bellevue, Washington, in conjunction with NANOG, the North American Network Operators Group, and we'll have another ARIN meeting in Baltimore outside of Washington, D.C. in October. We are trying to do more meetings in conjunction with operations meetings, so NANOG and CaribNOG and the Canadian Internet Forum and so forth. And one of the things that we've been looking at very actively in the longer term is ramping down the number of standalone meetings that we have. And I believe that's it. Thank you.